Match number 3, believe it or not, is what we're up to. It's about 4 o'clock today on our Friday, and we've got one more game after this one, but this one's going to be particularly spicy. It's Allegiance versus Elevate. I think both these teams are well equipped to be very strong, and both these teams, well, it's going to be a fun one. I'm standing here next to Anatoly, my new friend Azuna. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, thank you. After that.
Fantastic. Glad to have you along for the ride. He's a solo laner for Cyclone GG, and he's going to help us out with some of our analysis and especially the picks and bans when it comes down to it. So ALG and Elevate, they have really substantiated themselves in the league so far. ALG, previously known as Most Wanted, have definitely been one of the noisier groups over here in North America.
Absolutely. They're coming off of their win from the SCL Summer Finals. They managed to win a best-of-5 set against Team Eager, whereas Elevate, they actually qualified from the Gauntlet. They were so close into making it here before getting there against Sword. They were just one game away, but they still managed to get here. They're in a good spot right now, I feel like, heading into the first game.
Yeah, definitely. I do feel like Allegiance definitely a stronger team coming into this. Notably, Elevate struggling quite a lot against Kingdom, I felt like, in the Gauntlet. I do think that they will give them a run for their money. Like it was mentioned previously, though, I feel like a lot of their rosters aren't quite confirmed yet. They've made a lot of changes, which, as you saw in the previous set where we played, that had a huge impact. So I'm interested to see how that will play out.
Yeah, teams that stick to their guns have been relatively successful. You can see Eager, now they did change their, they did flip around their support in their jungle, but in general, that team roster has been together for a long time. And you know, even if you look at some of the more storied rosters on the side of PC, it's all about that longevity and sticking together, but you got to find one that does work out in the beginning, so that's what Elevate has been looking for. Allegiance on the other side, like we said, so successful. Where do you think their success really comes from?
It's just from their chemistry. Like, they're always having fun with each other. We've been doing the interviews, and they're just all such lively people that they haven't need to make any changes, whether it was rosters or roles specifically. They're able to take the roster that won the last LAN, not change anything about it, and now not only are they still here at the LAN, they finished first in the online phase, and they're just been always looking so solid, I feel like, because of their chemistry.
And you crossed the way, Elevate, they have been able to find a little bit of success. I like watching this team a little bit here and there. Their Hunter, KeegsMate, has been one of the big strong players on the squad. What can you say about watching Keegs play?
Well, he's a great Twitch streamer, I'll tell you that. I love his Joust play. Definitely, in my opinion, the best duel player currently. Sorry, Benna. Should be repping EU a little bit. Yeah, I definitely think that he has the potential. You know, he's definitely up there as one of the top 3 ADCs in NA, in my opinion.
For sure, it should be fun to watch. Like you said, that duel coming out when he's in that long lane certainly enables him and his team to work out and work well together. Transitioning over to the mid lane, however, a lot of strong players there. Right there, you've got Elevate's mid laner. What do you think makes him so strong here, Toli?
I think that the thing about Elevate that makes them so strong together is not just their mid laner, it's about their mid and jungle synergy that they have between the two. They're able to just play off of their aggression that they have and make the plays that they really need to. Elevate is known for these kind of plays where it either works or it doesn't for them, trying to get off some sort of aggression.
So right here, that is not KeegsMate, despite what you might see on your screen. We'll get things working out in just a moment, however. But yeah, so maybe some switches. I don't know if we just saw a little bit of a secret. Is Keegs playing mid?
Not really sure, but it's going to be surprising to see if they do elect to swap things out before, because Keegs has been known to bounce between that Hunter and mid role from time to time. He likes to play the Chronos very often, like you mentioned, in duel, which is what gives him this sort of mechanical edge. But going off of, he's going to be up against Clow for Allegiance, and something that we've known more about him is about his high ability to play a lot of these immobile gods, whether it's Isis, Vulcan, or Zhongqi.
Well, when it comes down to it, Clow is going to be the direct opposition of whoever winds up in that mid lane. He's got a KDA of 2.4 and a mouth that's certainly a little bit larger. Clow has been a pretty big part of the Smite scene for a long time, and here in the console, he's found a home that he's really been able to be strong in.
I think his KDA being a little bit lower than we're used to. Just purely because, like you said, he likes to play these tanky frontline mages, when he's not on the Vulcan, of course. And like, I think his mentality is, as long as I survive the team fight, we're going to win.
Exactly. So Clow certainly looking to survive and really make a statement here. So we'll see how it works out for him and his squad. But Clow, like I said, a fixture of the Smite scene. And getting into it, the console world might be a place to call himself home.
Clowwwww is very good at baiting your team into situations because he often tells his team that he's going to bait himself, and then I jump on him and then I get hit by every building and I'm dead in 2 seconds. So I just have to be careful of what I'm doing against Clow.
Clow's just a funny guy, to be honest. It shows in his game. I think last land he was 0-6 on Vulcan, but finished like 10-6 at the end. It seems like he has a laugh until he needs to turn it on, and once he starts playing, he's just probably a world-class mid laner.
Clow, I think, has the best shot callers in the game. He brings the synergy and he brings the team synergy up. He's usually always keeping the comms clean, and he's just super fun to play with.
He's a guy that he's always there for his team. He's not going to always, be that shining player. It's mostly Wolves or Transonics, but he does his job.
I think everyone in the Smite scene can agree he's definitely the craziest person in the scene. Has done the most craziest stunts, and I just love him for who he is. He's a great person.
That right there, that last shot, that's probably the most Cloud thing I've seen in a while. But real talk, I'm rather impressed with Clow here. Like I said, he's been a fixture of the Smite scene for a long time on the PC side of things as well, going a couple of years back. And, we've seen Cloud be able to not only grow up in a couple of different senses of the word, but also really become a rather strong player here on the console side of things. Like Azuna said, he generally plays these tankier characters. What's your favorite go-to pick for Cloud when you get to watch him play, Tully?
I always like watching his Vulcan play specifically, as well as his Isis, but more importantly his Vulcan, because he's just not afraid to put himself in a little bit of an overextended position, I feel, because he has the trust behind his teammates to always be able to back him up whenever he puts himself in those positions.
Yeah. For me, always special place my hat for the Sobek mid. And sadly, I couldn't perform quite as well as he did.
I mean, he's known for the Clowbeck every now and then.
Yeah.
It's certainly, that's part of what makes Clow. So certainly trying to figure things out. Right now he's choking. Hope that doesn't translate into the game. We'll see how it works out. Right there, Georgia's finest. It's not Jared the admin. It's Rippin Holes. He's right here from actually the same town that Jigs is from, believe it or not. Kennesaw, Georgia. You couldn't tell from the hat. He's a Southern boy at heart, and he's certainly a big part of what has made Elevate really strong. Really, like, when you get to watch these teams, I feel like one or two players generally stick out in your mind, even if they don't wind up with the top kills and top performances. But I think Rippin Holes has been one of the more consistent players for this team. Coming from the Guardian position, Rippin Holes has been doing a good job being that staple point for Team Elevate, being able to really control the pace of the game, being the shot caller for his team, just being able to start off the team fights, and they really ride off of the success, I would say, out of Rippin Holes, trying to look for the engagements.
Yeah, definitely. And ALG, their strong point is definitely these team fights and quick, rapid engagements that they don't give their opposition time to adapt. And if they can't adapt quickly, they're just going to get walked over. So I'm really interested to see how Rippin Holes deals with this.
Exactly, and watching Elevate play, I think that sort of quick pace game, that fast pitch type style that you bring up, it might be a problem for Elevate. In the past, we get to see these, basically they like to work off of big initiations. Rippin Holes starts a big team fight, and then off of that, there's a big objective, and they play few and far between. Whereas, like Azuna said, you see this really rapid action, one kill, one pick, one kill, one pick come out of ALG, and then later Transonics kind of shows up.
Well, I'm expecting a lot of early aggression from Elevate, honestly, right off the bat. We heard actually from Young Homie when he was here in the first set on the analyst desk was the fact, like, if we just survive at level 1 with getting our buffs, we should be able to win. And that's a lot of confidence coming out of Young Homie, who is their 6th and their coach. And I like the kind of insight that he provides for his team, just being able to always micromanage every little thing that they do during picks and bans.
So Ra, going to be the first ban, as well as Zeus. So Clow has really made a name for himself playing Zeus as well. So that one will be banned out from Elevate. A lot of focus on the mid laners here. I feel like for a long time, a lot of the focus in picks and bans have been Guardian or jungle centric. Why do you think the shift to mid laners here, Azuna?
I think with the Ra ban, that's a very meta relevant ban.
For sure.
We saw in the previous PC gauntlets, Ra very prominent. And clearly, even on Xbox, it's passed through, even with the straight line abilities, which are typically harder than circles on Xbox. Still very prominent. I do feel like the Zeus is very much a target ban to Clow, like you mentioned. Very strong on that god. Picked it a lot.
And there's a little bit more standard. Terra and Nemesis going to be banned out by Allegiance and Elevate respectively. So the first pick of the game coming out from ALG. They won the coin toss, so they get their selection, and they will go for the first pick.
Could be a Guan Yu if they want to go for more as a sustain option with Terra and Raw off the table. That would be a good third option. There is also Sylvanas if they want to go that route. I highly doubt they would go for any sort of Chang'e shenanigans, but a lot of junglers are left open. Kuang is open, but it's going to be the Athena. Could be a little bit of a flex option. Could run jungle, could run potentially the support or the soul lane, but more than likely going to be able to go to Koiz.
You know, you say the Chang'e shenanigans, and then although sure, we saw Chang'e kind of playing a one-sided matchup last time around, but Chang'e mid is something that the console scene has actually really clung to rather seriously. And when I'm thinking about Clow, the way he plays these tankier characters, I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Chang'e mid against a different opponent. Right now, Allegiance, they look very confident, and basically I think that's where you see the Clow picks shift. When Allegiance feel confident, when they feel like they're the better team or the top card, you see Clow go for the aggression, you see the Zeuses, the Vulcans come out, and the 1-2 punch with the Odin. It's when they go up against different teams that you see more defensive stuff. So elevate with the Jingwei, Ratatoskr, and Geb so far.
And off of that, Allegiance are picking up the Odin-Vulcan combination. I like this idea because already they're being able to synergize those two huge ultimates. Now I'm expecting this Odin to either go on to Koiz or xCynosurex because you want to be looking for those little 3v3 skirmishes, trying to set up Cloud for an easy ultimate.
I agree.
Exactly. Cloud is going to be a big part of this late game specifically. And right now, Allegiance, they're going to have to really focus on getting out of the early game, like you said. If they survive at level 1, you know, they might be able to win. Odin is certainly going to be a big part of what allows them to really get through that, which is why I like to see him in this supposedly, I think jungle more than soul lane here, because Odin will be able to rotate around the map at a lower level if he does wind up in the jungle.
And I like the Geb pickup to counter this Odin-Vulcan combination. Whoever gets stuck in that cage is going to get Geb shielded, try to sustain them through that initial burst damage right off the bat. It also can disrupt the Bird Bomb combination with a nice knockup.
So the Thorn and Wheelish have been banned out. Elevate seem to think this Odin is going to go into the solo lane for Wolves specifically. Why do you think Elevate are so sure of that?
He has played it a lot of times during the split, and he has proved that he's very strong on the god. What I do find very interesting is that the very early Nemesis ban suggested that they were going for this more of the tankier front line. I was really expecting to see an Odin picked on the side of Elevate to take that away from Wolves. I actually expected a snap Odin and then a third pick Guan Yu, because Guan Yu, as you saw, has been banned all day, highly contested, but in this game, they just gave away the Odin and it's just Guan Yu's now, like, he basically cannot be played by Elevate because of how much pressure that just gives. We do see now Kuang picked up. Not really been in the meta that much recently. It's kind of a shocking pick. I guess they're looking to camp this Sobek, really.
Yeah, I think that's the case. We'll see how Kuang's able to really transition here. You know, honestly, with what you were talking about with the Guan Yu, I feel like the second pick Odin was for Wolves, and then once they saw the way the draft has gone, I almost would have liked Allegiance to call an audible and give Odin over to the jungle and then swap the selection of the Guan Yu. Why do you think Team Allegiance really stuck to their guns and kept going and went with the Kuang?
I just think that they have the initial damage coming out of Koiz playing this Odin potentially in the support role, but it's going to be Wolves obviously playing it in the solo, so they're going to be looking for the kind of damage from his rotations with Cloud playing this Vulcan just to be able to really get off a lot of kills. I'm expecting Wolves to just be able to be a big lane bully against Sobek here, and that's going to allow the rotations coming out of xCynosurex finding the easy executes, especially if Sobek uses his ultimate just to be able to stay in laning phase longer, getting that MP5 regen.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really important part of what Allegiance is going to do here for Odin to rotate early and often.
Of course, people at home may not know, a lot of people might. Sobek into Odin. Sobek actually has a very positive lane matchup there. The tail whip, the knockup, it's channeled for almost a whole second, and if the Odin jumps at any point in that, the Bird Bomb won't explode. So for the first 8 or so levels, Odin just cannot clear effectively. Yeah, and that could be really dominant here.
We've seen that a couple of times in the dual lane with Geb knockups and stuff. If you're able to CC Odin in that spot when he lands down with the Bird Bomb, you should be really able to counteract what Odin wants to do there. Allegiance versus Elevate. Clow's got his pick. A couple of other strong late game options for Allegiance. How do you feel this one's going, isn't it?
Well, I feel like with Allegiance's draft, after analyzing, considering all the options, I feel like they're really looking to pick the Geb.
All right, well, here we're going to get on into it. Hindu Man and Adonis have the call. Let's listen to them. Bring us the game.
Thanks so much, After, and the analysts as well. Straight into the game we go, and take into account here, Adonis, this is an important game for both these teams. You get one set a day, and every point matters.
Yeah, I mean, you're only going to have 3 matchups throughout this tournament, so it's very important, especially on day 1, to at least get a single win here. And this is considered the weaker of the 2 groups. Obviously, Allegiance is the favorite here, but Elevate, they have a chance because of that.
Damn right they do, and if they can actually get off to a good start here at the beginning of the game, we'll see what they can make happen with it. Double Guardian, though, Sobek and Geb as well. Not something we usually see too much.
No, I mean, we did start to see it through the SPL groups, right? When it was more about that frontline initiation along with a Raw that's, you know, able to sustain you up here. But it's a little bit different in this regard where it's really for the Scylla setup. And a lot of what Elevate's composition is going to do is have to be able to play straight through Scylla.
And with the Relic start here, you can see it is going to be the 2 Wrath starts for both the solo laners at the beginning of this one as well. So we won't see many invades come out, I don't expect, because they should both expect it with the amount of wards being placed down.
And both are going to know what's going to happen, but look at this. Wolves already creeping on up, and Elevate saw this, and they're going to immediately peel off and actually go and counter-steal the other's buffs, but they are going to be slow. You can see haven't made it to speed yet. I think they're still scouting around, and this is going to hurt them because it took them so long to get this going.
It will indeed take them a little bit of time, so getting to lane is going to be very interesting between the 2 as well, as when you look at wave clear from these 2 teams, the 2 solo laners. We'll see what happens now, whether they go for the blue as well. It looks like they will.
Azuna talked about it, and Azuna is that solo Sobek main from what we've seen so far. Really good with it, and obviously that matchup where you're going to be able to tail whip and interrupt that burp arm, very important. But it is a hard timing to master. You basically have to wait for him to jump, which means you're not going to be able to use that normally in lane, and so it's very careful timing based.
Well, a contest over the Fire Elementals will go the way of Elevate here, so they did end up going into a good position. But I say that as they lose a full wave to the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. So even though they get Fire Elementals, it's pretty much even between the 2.
And for now, right now, no big thing happening right now, about 100 gold lead. And this is just going to be a game about Cynosure, I think, versus Reminiscent, right? I think the jungler's going to set the pace of this game here. Allegiance have a composition that's honestly pretty widespread. It's not like you have Elevate here, who the whole goal is let's set up Scylla, right? They have a lot of options for team fight. They have great setup from the Athena. They have a lot of spacing potential as well with the Vulcan and the Ram, who have that kind of long-range siege of capabilities. And then the Odin, which is really going to be looking to lock in these key picks, right? You want to get Geb and you want to get the Sobek in.
I'm keeping an eye on Rippin holes this game. We mentioned him quite a bit overall in terms of how he's going to play this one. And playing the Geb this game going to be very important for him to deal with a lot of things in this game as well. Obviously, the knock-ups coming out from in the Odin, he can interrupt the third bomb, but also those shields are going to be critical to get away from the Athena taunts.
And we don't see Geb too much because he is really easily abused, and the saving grace for him here is that the Odin is in the opposite side of the map. He's all the way on the right-hand side, so likely not to be involved in too much action until that, 12, 13 minute mark happens when you start to see those solo laners rotate over.
Well, over in the duo lane, Transonics there. Transonics and Wolves for the most part in Allegiance, seen as 2 of the very best on the console scene, both in the same team as well.
Yeah, I mean, Allegiance as a whole, I mean, they've gathered these incredibly talented players. Wolves and Transonics specifically are very raw talents where you're not really seeing them, at least they used to, don't really work well with the team. Not in a bad manner, but they like to kind of have that old school Cyclone playstyle where they loop around the back, they try and outplay their opponents more so than focus on the team fighting, but that's not really the case anymore.
Well, Wolves on this right-hand side got a full wave to clear at the moment. The Fire Elemental's going to go the way of Allegiance here as well, as McWafflez onto the tower there. Going to be pressured by those minions, obviously trying to keep him out of tower range so he can get some bonus gold for it as well and get himself in a good position. Clow in the mid lane though, back to the Vulcan. We've seen a lot of it this season and so far with how he's been performing on it. He's one of his major go-tos for the safety factor as well. And that's actually going to put him in a pretty good position if he can continue transferring this when Wolves does hit the mid game and he can start combining with Clow in the mid.
For now, though, it's actually been a pretty passive game. We saw a little bit poke in the mid right now, but this is good for Allegiance. Again, they have this Kuang who the later the game goes, the better he's going to become. The main issue, and that's the same with Vulcan and Ram too, but the main issue is you're also extending this game for the Scylla to get big because that's what Elevate's trying to do. They want that Scylla, they want that I'm a monster to 100-0 someone, and the later you kind of take to make your move and start trying to push for a win, it's going to be that much more deadly.
Well, you can see this time round, Elevate and Allegiance will get their own speed and own blue buff this time round. The Fire Elemental, the right-hand Harpy's about to spawn here, and Allegiance in a pretty good spot for this. You can see the rotation coming out from Koiz to the right-hand side here, looking for a bit of pressure.
Yeah, we see 3 members over here. Koiz really just trying to zone everyone out. Those mid-Harpies going to be coming up, and mid-Harpies are kind of the unsung hero of a lot of teams. Controlling them is so important. They spawn incredibly often. There's 2 of them. Sometimes, once the timers get spread like they are now, it's very hard to fight back and start gaining them. When they're split up, okay, Allegiance goes to one side, we go to the other. But right now, because of the staggered spawns, Allegiance able to pick up those right Harpies, now start zoning out Jumpahhh on the left, and they're not going to be able to contest these here unless they want a full-on fight.
Yeah, very surprised they all went for that fight. The red buff, instead of contesting those left-hand Harpies, they're willing to give them up, and I guess that's what Elevate kind of have to do at the early game. I mean, they've got a very late-game composition here that they've drafted.
No one really doing anything on Elevate, right? It's just this passive play. Let Allegiance dictate the pace of the game. And you don't really want to have that happen with xCynosurex. You can already see some attention on the right-hand side, but Waffles just going to back up. No bust for him to gather right now, and I think Allegiance do want to pick off. You can see xCynosurex really moving around the map, but he needs to time it right, and honestly, this is the best timing. We've seen a lot of people back right now. They haven't placed their wards just yet. You saw Waffles immediately place that one after the Kuang had already left his lane.
So when we actually look at Wolves in this game as well, Dennis, I mean, do we expect to see Elevate look for the Phantom this game? And if so, who are?
Honestly, Phantom is obviously a phenomenal counter to Odin Cage, but we don't really see a lot of success with it. Sure, you can use it once, but it's such a long cooldown. Yep. Compounded on the fact that Odin has a low cooldown ultimate, and likely will get at least some form of CDR, right? A Breastplate of Valor, you know, anything like that, you know, Spirit's Robe. All those items are very common on Odin, and that just makes it even harder. It's when should I use this Phantom? Oh, we got one person caged in. I mean, do I use my Phantom, let him get out, and we can reset? Well, now I don't have it when Allegiance are looking for a full-on fight, and next time he's got 4 people caged in.
Well, they may be looking for a full-on fight now, with Wolves making this very heavy rotation over towards the left-hand side of the map at the moment. Does hit mid-wave and gets potted out by those pings coming down. Looks like Allegiance were looking for the red buff, which hasn't spawned just yet. Maybe just getting some deep wards down and looking for position.
I absolutely love what Allegiance are doing right now. They're testing their limits. They're basically saying, they're trying to see how Elevate is going to react to them.
The Vulcan ultimate not going to connect very well. Holes ends up shielding most of that damage that come through, and the other 2 members of Elevate will get away scot-free.
Love the attempt there, Clow. A little bit off the mark on the ultimate, though. Placed it too far up. Only hit 1 person there. Koiz actually taking more damage in return, so had to back out.
And now we've got a fight between the 2 Hunters right now. Both looking to trade out autos for the most part. No crits coming through from Keegs, and obviously Transonics popped his steroid as well, which means they're both at half health overall. I guess I'd say Keegs wins just because of the quick basing.
It's definitely that ultimate. Keegs wants to take every trade he can, but Transonics has gone for a very early Devourer's Gauntlet, which I love this. I think this is a pickup in counter and response to this Jing wave. Yeah. If you get into poke wars and you have to back, you're going to be on the losing end of a Jing wave because of her passive, gets her back in, so efficient at farming. You almost always see Jing wave with, you know, 500-600 gold farm on their opponents with, you know, out them really being able to do anything about it.
Well, on top of this, you can see xCynosurex in the jungle. On the Kuang, we mentioned we don't see too much of it overall in this season as it goes, but it is a late-game hyper carry. We've seen the amount of times it can go off, and with Vulcan in the mid lane, who's building a Doom of already over half the stacks completed now, or just at half the stacks, it's a really big boon here for the mid-game of Allegiance when they decide to start to engage.
You know, it's really funny because Clow has an interesting playstyle. He likes to not really be the main carry of a team, even when he's on Zeus, right? He'll build the breastplate, he builds the wing blade, but he actually started changing his playstyle a little bit and kind of his build path, where he would go for these Doom Orbs and then go into that style. And so he augments it with he augments his typical lack of power with an incredibly cheap and efficient high power spike. And he also keeps it safe as well. Because he immediately goes into that tanky style, it's harder to kill him, it's harder to get those stacks off, and his team does a really good job also of playing around him and making sure he gets out of those situations.
Completely agree, and that just puts Allegiance in a really good position right about now as well. They've got a small gold lead at the moment as well, and with that gold lead going down, obviously they can get the left-hand Harpies as well. And then you can actually look around for the red buff as well on top of that. Gold Fury is still available at the same time, but the ward's placed down here. Allegiance are looking for a bait, but as we know, the ward is hanging.
Just for now, right? And Allegiance not really wanting to go for anything too risky. They really shouldn't have to. They've gained about a little over a 1,000 gold lead without too much going on. We haven't really seen a ton of invades. This has just been mid-Harpy control.
Yeah, mid-Harpy control indeed there overall. Bit of pressure in mid lane again with a full minion wave in, but with a Scylla there, they will be able to crush that down very quickly. Obviously in the mid lane, Jumpahhh playing this Scylla, not gone for the Doom Orb start, just gone for the boot for the extra mobility, which is something you need against a Vulcan.
He could go for the Doom Orb as well. Chronos Pendant, not really liked on Scylla, simply because of the fact that it doesn't really give you a lot. Scylla's about one rotation of abilities, you know, and I believe it was Best I talked to where CDRs, it's sometimes
Here's
good.
the play, Taunt onto Vulcan that will connect, the burst is good, and already Reminisst is reminiscing in base.
That's the combo they were looking for last time. This time, much better executed. As the taunt is started up, Clow then ults. He doesn't wait, he doesn't hesitate, immediately ults on top, and xCynosurex also moves himself in position, doesn't even need to use his execute to secure the kill because there was so much burst damage onto Reminisct.
And on top of that, we said Kuang gets the kill. Not a target you want to give kills to at any stage of the game, but the early game will escalate that build even quicker and allow him to start bursting heavy.
Oh, and that's brutal. You saw the rotation from McWafflez as well, recognizing that a fight had just happened. He might be needed to clean up, or if there's a secondary initiation. Instead, though, Wolves takes that opportunity with Waffles gone to steal that speed buff. Now they're going to find him, and the cage just off the mark.
Not so much, that ring not really finding a home, and because of that, Wolves drops his ultimate for free. Ratatoskr in the sky here, thinking about defending for a second,
he's out.
But he will just go back to the tier 1 tower.
And look at this, you see the damage on the Scylla as well. Cloud just able to handle that on his own. No fear of the Geb here, and they're going to make a second attempt onto Waffles, but it doesn't go their way. And that was just unfortunate for Wolves. He tries to hold his cage, wait till all their burst abilities are up, but
pressure though, when you can see him coming in the back with the illusion, but he gets aggro from the tower. xCynosurex looking to try and get the ult off, but he did get raft as well. There is a tower shot waiting for him, I believe, when he lands. No, I tell a lie. He should be fine and dandy and go back to looking for the tier 1.
And now this tower is going to go down. This Ratatoskr not going to be able to stop this. I mean, it's a 3-level lead right now. Wolves is 0-0-1, but the highest level in the game. He's done such a phenomenal job of farming. You know, he solo stole that speed buff. He got the blue buff afterwards. He hasn't been involved in much in regards to kind of the team, but by himself, he's been doing such a good job of controlling the pace of the solo game. And you're starting to see Allegiance kind of look more towards that right-hand side of the map, you know, not really paying attention to the Gold Fury. They're like, Transonics, just keep your eye on it, make sure they can't, you know, sneak it away, and instead, let's focus on shutting down this soul lane. We got the tower, we steal their buffs, and we get Wolves big, more importantly.
On top of that, Koiz is going to be an important part here. You can see the taunts that he's looking to make in mid lane, picked up the first blood, based off that as well. And if you can get these taunts on point, and especially onto Rippin holes, and...
What?
Okay, Clow, okay.
Feeling himself, I guess.
Is he back on PC again?
Maybe they thought someone was around that corner and they were trying to gank him.
Okay.
That's my only assumption. They're like, I bet you someone's around the corner. I'm gonna ult you, taunt him into it.
Try and save him. I'm not going to save him there at all. That ultimate was awful. I've seen Krakens better than that in the grand scheme of things as well. Over in the jungle, though, they're waiting around the corner for the same
combo.
Sort of. The difference is Clow's ult is on cooldown right now, so he's not going to be able to do anything in the likes of what he did before.
He also had he was also the one pushed up instead of the Athena, and Transonics now has a slight lead on the left-hand side. Just going to take these boxing matches, has his ult. KeegsMate going to take to the sky. And he's going to quickly fall down. I think if Transonics knew that Keegs was going to come down that fast, probably would have held those shots.
But he was worried about a rotation from Elevate, which was happening over towards the left-hand side. It has allowed some pressure for Allegiance in mid. 4 members strong, taunt on 3. No follow-up coming from the boys of Allegiance, though. Just focus on the town, realizing there are minions, but the pluck connects.
Oh, and he's knocked up as well. I'm a monster! Going to be off the mark. Wolves very deep. He's going to cage. Just get out with that. And that was just a mistiming of abilities coming out from Allegiance. Clow, his ult was down. His turret was just placed, but here's the reinitiation.
And Rat's not going to find the knock he's after. Instead, he gets bursted back. The backfire from Clow. Good enough to turn that one around again. And this is just a tale of overcommitment from teams as Wolves picks one up, and he's looking for a second, or xCynosurex will take it with a dragon.
He's going to get executed. Now has the chance to go on a KeegsMate, and honestly, this Kuang's pretty healthy. He's going to do it. Illusion not going to find the kill, but the rest of Allegiance pushing forward. Clow's ult is back up. It is really out there, too. Doesn't connect. Wolves tanking too much on the tower. Going to fall. KeegsMate finally gets picked up, and it's a pretty very strong performance in team fight from ALG.
And Rippin holes is just now a hole in the ground as he falls down as well. The tier 1 tower in mid will also fall. A deicide at 13 minutes in the game.
Now that was pretty sloppy from Allegiance overall. Wolves in the backline, taking the tower by himself, 1 versus 2, overextends a little bit. Clow's ult way off the mark. I mean, if he was actually trying to zone and make sure they couldn't get out of the tower, it was good. I don't think he was trying to do that. I think he was trying to connect it. But at the very least, Allegiance is just so far ahead at this point, mostly because of Wolves.
Taunt again, that time onto Waffles, just slowing down from trying to get in there. At the back, coming out from Transonics. And in the end of the day, gold goes the way of Allegiance.
And that's what I was talking about too. We saw about a 6K gold lead, only 13 minutes in, but it's also that 9,000 experience lead, and it's so hard to fight into a big XP lead this early. That's when it gets really difficult because your ability simply don't hit as hard. You also don't have the supports level 12, right? They don't have their second relics. You can see they've just picked up a couple, but Geb's still lacking that second teamfight relic, although to be fair, Athena is as well.
Well, you've got a 5-minute window now for the side of Elevate just to farm up and play it safe, maybe. Obviously, we said they've got a very good late-game composition here. The Guardian scale well into the late stages of the game as well. On top of that, you've got a Scylla and a Jing the crit and the Iron Monsters. Both of those can just change a team fight in an instant.
And now this game is just about slowing the pace for Elevate, right? This game is going way too fast for them. Allegiance play. This is Allegiance's playstyle. Fast, like, kill someone, go for gold. Kill, 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 get a tower, kill.
The way Allegiance generally play it, though, is they do draft to make sure they have things at all stages of the game. Although, Keegs maybe getting a solo kill here, boys.
Trying to. Vulcan over the top! Transonics is going to get picked up, but Clow with the highlight there.
Did that make up for the other one? I don't think it did. It was alright.
It definitely made up for
in
it.
mid lane by Jumpahhh just for the immunity to avoid the taunt. McWafflez on the way. It connects, but it only connects on Koiz.
And this is what's brutal. We're going to have a cage in here onto Waffles. He does get the Geb shield, but still trying to survive. Pops early, and now ALG a little bit overextended. They may regret this.
And the Plug's going to put him into a lot of trouble there for Wolves, but he's going to walk away with the support of the turret and Clow.
Look at Cyno.
He'll be able to get out.
Top right. By himself into the tower, looking for the execute. Finds his target.
And gets the target, and will he just go in again? That's the question.
Not this time.
I mean, there was lower health targets there they could look for.
What is Clow doing?
Getting a bit too aggressive here, the boys of Allegiance. Yes, they're finding picks, but it's a little bit messy.
This is sloppy again. This is, you know, the weaker of the two groups, but Allegiance cannot let this game slip out of their fingers. Now Wolves is overextended. Koiz here for support, but he's already been picked up. Sprints popped. Koiz is going to get out. But right now, Elevate are finding some weaknesses. ALG just continuously overextending into these engagements.
I think that's the thing here. Allegiance trying to continue to force it after taking the Gold Fury. They had the lead. They've got the experience lead, the gold lead, as we said. But by trying to push on too much, Elevate, like, we can still fight on the towers, boys. Like, if you do that, we can turn it around.
And also, you look at the relics that Elevate has picked up. They're all pretty selfish, right? You have Purification and Sanctuary on 3 members. And right now, Geb only has the single Meditation. That's their only team fighting relic outside of a Wrath, which is kind of team fighting. It's kind of in that weird flex option where it's selfish, but it's also great for the team as well and great for objectives. But it's not like they're able to use that Wrath for objectives right now unless they try and go for a steal. But they have the Odin cage as well. Wolves is just going to cage out Waffles, and he's not going to be able to use that Wrath in that objective playstyle.
And Rippin holes here as well, obviously waiting for his second relic, as you mentioned. That second relic, he doesn't have to go blink overall here. I don't think he needs to.
No.
Because in this situation, he's got enough engage.
Clow trying it again. Just those freestyle ults, but no one else able to capitalize.
How many members does it take to gank one person?
Why did he go into the lane?
4, and he's still alive. He did go in and go straight back out, straight into a turret. Rotation coming out of a monster over the top, hits Koiz, but Koiz
tickled.
Just too tanky.
And right now, I mean, there's just not enough penetration. The rotation from Waffles is here. He's going to go
Working, boys.
underneath.
And he's going to be able to pick up
nice
Clow
combo
with that knock-up as well. Comes into account, but they won't find any more, and that's what you get trying to pick on Keegs all day.
And Elevate have done I talked about it, right? Slowing the pace of the game. We're not seeing Elevate really go aggressive at all. They're just letting Allegiance make mistakes and then countering them, right? You see this kind of crescent upwards, right, on the gold. And that's when we really saw that mid-fight happen, goes all the way for Allegiance. But then after that, it's just been a downward trend. And that's when you need to see even a bigger spike, right? That's when you're so far ahead, you start pushing the issue. You start playing as a team, start sieging these towers. And ALG haven't done that. They're just trying to deathmatch right now.
Well, you did see in the jungle there, Reminisst on the Ratatoskr. Found out what a bird bomb is like from a level 16 Odin, who has a Jotuns.
And that Jotuns, and I like this, right? ALG's really far ahead. Wolves level 17, highest in the game. No one's really going to be able to kill him right now with only the Genji's garb. He doesn't really have a lot of physical defense, but the Jingwei isn't dealing with him at all, right? The Jingwei is dealing with Transonics most of the fight, so
Well,
all he has to worry
members.
about is Ratatoskr, and Ratatoskr's 3 levels below him.
And over on the right side, he can just continue to free farm here. Then McWafflez can't really do much to stop it. He'll just go farm himself. With mid lane tier 1 tower being down, it's kind of difficult for Allegiance, as we said, to really find something. They've been trying to find things. There's no reason to, though. Golf Fury spawning means that we could see an engage around there.
The issue with Allegiance is they're not trying to find things as a team. There's one person going in over aggressive, the others try and bail them out, and it's just kind of this negative snowball effect where they're not using themselves in a team scenario. But with this Gold Fury, we should start to see them kind of group up again. You can already see 4 members on the left-hand side. Nice counter ward there, too, as well, making sure you can get that TP in.
We saw xCynosurex blink there, looking for aggression onto KeegsMate one more time. That seems to be the focus from Allegiance here, and that's one of the signs of this team that I'm worried about. Maybe they get in their own head a little bit and actually don't play to the best because they're too busy trying to pick a certain person. Big ultimate.
Oh, and actually, Ratatoskr trapped in as well. Clowwwwww is going to connect onto 2 so low. Transonics finds the first in the cleanup, the Geb shield, and honestly, this is looking okay for Elevate for a while, but it's just Transonics free farming these guys, no one even touching them.
No, because of that xCynosurex, the front side is causing issues too. 2 double kills in that fight, 1 for Transonics, 1 for xCynosurex, and their credit, the win will be the Gold Fury for the second time
An
this game.
absolutely perfect cage from Wolves. Not only does he get the 2 members who cannot escape in those Guardians, the Guardians that are also supposed to either be peeling for their team or zoning kind of that backline, now they can't do that. And then it just happenstance that the Ratatoskr, whose only escape is the ultimate, ends up ulting in just as the cage came out. They had 3 members lined up. Clow hits his ultimate onto 2. There was just a small sliver for 1 person to escape, but then there's just Allegiance piling in on them inside that cage. And because Elevate's so far behind, they don't have the base health, they don't have the base protections, and they don't have the items.
Well, you actually see on the map as well that Cloud did take the tier 1 on the left-hand side. xCynosurex stole away the speed buff. He wanted the blue as well, but it's just a little bit too late on spawning with the rotation coming from Elevate. He will have to back away, but it does escalate them just a little bit further up to 10,000 gold.
And the biggest issue for Elevate right now is the fact that their lineup is completely centered around Scylla's ultimate.
Yep.
Because we've seen it connect once so far in 20 minutes, and that was onto a support Athena who laughed off the damage with only a Heartward amulet picked up
Well,
at
when
the
your
time.
mid laner is only 2 levels above a support, you're not going to do as much as you expect. Supports do get naturally tanky with levels and items, obviously. And so if you're only 2 levels higher, you're not going to have that much of a difference.
And also, I mean, Allegiance have been doing a great job of kind of jumping on to Jumpahhh in the backline and forcing his ult defensively. Once that's down, they have a huge 90-second window to basically do whatever they want. And Elevate, they can't fight into it unless Allegiance make their mistakes where they are overextended and kind of getting picked off, but it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. Ever since that Gold Fury, they've been grouping up as a unit.
Well, Waffles was trying to judge away, and instead he's walked into a dangerous spot. I'm a monster, will hit 2, but it was the tanks again, and xCynosurex takes McWafflez and another wild ride to the sky. Comes straight back down, looking for his next pick, and that will be onto Reminisst. Next up on the list is Rippin Holes, who will rip roaring roll away.
Oh, no, 1v1 on the left-hand side? Both hunters on the wrong side. They were trying to 1v1 earlier.
They just fight.
It's about a 2-level lead. Sido overextended, does have the Athena ult, and this is going to be a tier 2 tower. Great play from Wolves in that last engagement, though. We saw him not only get the cage right as the Sobek ult ended, so he didn't have time to dash away, but also right after that, jumping over the other 2 players, body blocking them, and also getting that slow onto them, and they couldn't escape. I mean, this is just Allegiance running away with this one now.
I like this fight between Keegs and Transonics for a couple of reasons. One is because Keegs is trying to prove that he can beat Transonics, but if Transonics is really realizing this by him fighting constantly against Keegs, it's stopping Jing Wei with her mobility. She can't join the team fight. She can't get there before him, which means they're missing their honor.
And now KeegsMate got to be forced into Sanctuary and immediately gets caged up. Good Geb shield. Now Clow and Wolves, the only 2 pushed up right now. You could see them trying to retreat, but doing it a little bit slowly, making sure that they keep each other alive right now, and they do manage to get back to the Fire Giant. They're going to take a trip back to the base. Can we actually see gold in hand? I'm interested to see where they're at. About 2K right now for the Vulcan. Going to be really close to completing that Rod of Tahuti.
We got some crit online as well for Transonics in the Hunter role as well. Did pick up a Fatalis here. Didn't really discuss his build too much in this, but he wants that extra mobility to match that of Jing Wei.
He does. And honestly, Transonics has always been the Fatalis Hunter on every single guy.
True.
I don't really like it on Rom. I don't think it really brings a ton, but you know, he used to run it on Jablonke a lot. He really likes this, and there is that kind of that aspect of in kind of the world of Smite, where juking is very important,
Oh, yeah.
having that bonus movement speed makes it hard for the other hunter to hit their basics.
Well, not just that, I mean, against melee gods as well, you can just kite them backwards
Yep.
while still autoing them over and over again as they try and close the gap. You're not impeded by movement penalties.
And right now, I mean, I was talking about Clow being close to Ratatoskr, and then I took a look at xCynosure's build. We're 22 minutes in, and he's missing a single item and has a rod.
Huge. Good time from Koiz, and round the back, bit of pressure onto Jumpahhh again from Cynosure, who actually takes his aggression out onto the Geb, who got hit by a knock-up there, and the Cataclysm. Meanwhile, we're going to see the Bird Bomb going down, but not enough to actually pick up McWafflez. And a monster over the wall will not save the day for Rippin Holes, who takes down by Cynosure.
And again, Cynosure goes in, now has the Athena support, and that's the dash from Ratatoskr. He has his Sanctuary, but he's going to get taunted. Koiz finds his second kill of the game, and they've just let Transonics find the 1v1s. Can't hit it, but he does read where Jing's going.
And he's going to look for the snipes over the wall. Team will try and give him views. 2 shots is all he needs.
Hits all third.
Marvels, you ain't nothing, son.
Hits all 3, and now this is about to be the close of the game right now. Allegiance have absolutely walked over Elevate.
Yep.
It looked a little bit, okay, Elevate's got some stuff in the early game, but you know, heading into that 8, 9, 10-minute team fights in the mid game, it's just been a snowball fest from them.
I mean, last time we saw Allegiance play, they were under the tag most wanted at the land stages. They came out on top there after some hard-fought battles against the likes of Eager, but they're still looking as good as they did before, Adonis.
Well, outside of the fact that they forgot to finish the Phoenix there, this has been interesting because they've actually let Transonics sit in 1v1 Jing the whole time, which typically when you have a hunter that has a lead, you just say, hey, group up with us. You're going to be more effective in these team fights. We also don't run the risk of you happening to, you know, get soloed, get 1v1'd, and just team fight with us. And instead, they're just like, Transonics, you go over there, we're going to 4v4, and Transonics has done such a good job of keeping pace with KeegsMate, shutting him down. You can see almost full build now, just has the death's toll to sell after he takes a trip back to the base.
Just between the hunters, though, I think if we go back to that 1v1 where you saw Geb rolling in and Clow hit the ultimate, I think that kind of turned the tail of that lane.
Such a beautiful
Clow's ultimate connected there, like, I'm pretty sure Transonics was about to get killed.
He's had two ults that have been great, right? Two out of like 6.
The left-hand harpy ones, they were great.
Oh,
they were
fantastic.
fantastic. They took me right back. He's been impersonating Jerby a little bit too much, I guess, with that one.
Oh, don't do that, man.
Sorry,
that one's dead. That meme's been dead.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot of people remember. There's a couple people who are loving
Jerby
that.
was bad, and he's still bad. That's all you needed to know if you didn't know him. There you go, fixed, sorted, all done. Fire Giant has been started, zone duty from Clow and Cynosure, the two you'd expect to zone a Fire Giant when you're trying to take it down.
Well, they're not really trying to zone. Like I said, this is a death match right now. They know Transonics and Wolves can finish this. They're looking for kills. But again, that comes back to Allegiance. They've looked great when you look at the scoreline and the gold and the experience, but it's been sloppy.
Yeah, it has. It's not been super clean overall. And when we look at the side of Elevate here, what do they need to change for Game 2? I mean, they've gone with a double Guardian. It's a very late-game composition they've drafted here, but they never really managed to find the synergy.
I never feel like they got into the team fight stage. Everything that happened in the beginning, in the early game, was all about Allegiance picking members of Elevate off, right? We saw the Clow ult on the left-hand side. We saw the cage matches multiple times onto Mr. Waffles. We saw those kind of mid-lane pressures where 3 members sit around the wall. They immediately go Athena taunt, Vulcan ult, Cynosure follow-up just to get the confirmed kill damage. And so I never feel like Elevate had a chance to team fight.
Yeah, very, very true indeed. All 3 Phoenix is down here. Apart from the left-hand side, which is a half health, and Allegiance are grouping up nicely for that one at the moment. You can see on the right-hand side, Reminisst is trying to just clear out minion waves, but he's got to fall back to his team here. This final Phoenix, very important. The last stand of a desperate team in Game 1.
And the Rat takes to the sky here. He's going to jump onto the back line as Wolves zones out in the front. There's the sprint, and the Geb ult only hits Koiz.
I mean, well, in
no,
the ring,
no!
For the Bird Bomb, McLeod will find the kill.
Did it to him.
Inside the fountain. Next on the list is Keegs, who has to use the airstrike to get to safety. Transonics looking for some extra player damage there as well. No real focus on the Titan just yet, but it's good enough for Allegiance to take Game 1 in 26 minutes, 22-5.
I can't believe Cloud did that to my man. Just ults him in fountain. Just
why not? Throw it out there.
I mean, you got the kill, right? And honestly, it was a good kill.
I mean, he threw it out there, the left-hand harpies in the head. He even threw it out a couple of more times and actually hit things. And when he did hit, people died.
And amazing performance from Allegiance. Really similar to, I think, what we saw from Eager versus Excel, when it was just kind of complete domination in every lane. That's what we saw.
Yep.
And it was really about that mobility, surprisingly enough, about Cynosure doing such a good job of rotating around the map. And I didn't see the Ratatoskr, I didn't see Reminiscent, like, ever make a play. Never goes aggressive. He was only responding to what Cyno and Clow were dictating.
It's very true. I mean, they tried to make things happen there. XCynosurex was just tearing things up in the jungle overall, though. I mean, his kill KDA was insane. Didn't die a single time in that game, and just kind of led from the front. He was aggressive in the outcome.
I mean, he's an incredibly high-level player, right? He played with enemy at the Smite World Championship last year, got to second, right? He's really good, and he's been working out for ALG.
Well, it's time to go to the analysts. F.Tolly, and of course, the lad from Cyclone from the solo lane will be taking it all away with the action.
What a fantastic game. That one certainly made it happen. And right there, it's SteelSeries making it happen. The official hardware of hi-rez Studios, certainly allowing us to really have fun here at LAN, and that's exactly what Clow and his team are doing here.
They're doing a great job already, Allegiance. They are showing why they were the SCL Summer Final champions. Just off of that game alone, we saw both Clow and XCynosurex just having over an 80% kill participation together. They're just working so well, bouncing off of each other.
Yeah. I think what was really key to their performance there, in the early game they were using mainly the Athena taunt into the Vulcan ult, but then as Wolves transitioned into the team fights, they were using it specifically, exclusively on that Odin cage, and it was incredibly effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that Clow's, like we said, Clow's a fantastic Vulcan player, and so he's going to be able to hit those ultimate shots without CC, without really the help. So the Odin cage certainly just sort of set up the basket and let him shoot it.
I definitely want to see some more adaptation coming out of Elevate. What do you think they're going to do in the second game after such a pretty convincing loss coming from Allegiance?
Yeah, I feel like Elevate's draft, like, they drafted a Jingwei, a Geb, a Scylla, and a Sobek. Like, these 4 gods, you don't really take those for early game pressure. You take those for late game team fight monsters. And as we saw, by 10 minutes, by 15 minutes, the game was very much in Allegiance's favor. And these gods just didn't have an area to shine. Like, we were seeing Scylla ults that were coming out. They were hitting Athena, they were hitting Odin, but it was just tickling them. They did no damage.
And I think, you know, the Jingwei was also really kept in the check by Transonics. That's his game plan. You heard the casters sort of talk about how a lot of teams will bring when the hunter gets a lead, bring them into team fights and let them clean up. Transonics, I spoke to him before. I gave him the interview. I was like, so, you know, what's the strategy? What's the game plan? He's like, I'm a solo everybody. So what's the team game plan? I'm a solo everybody. And that's all really Trans had to say. And right here, he started off with Keegs. Keegs is a monster on this Jingwei. I feel like everybody knows that KeegsMate, you can't give him the Jingwei. Well, they got the Jingwei. This is an issue. And
that's something that Elevate is going to have to look into in game number 2. It's like, okay, they got the Jingwei, but did they really, was it first pick worthy for them? Did it make an impact for them in that second game? The answer is no. Yeah. All of Allegiance were just doing such a wonderful job, and we saw XCynosurex playing the Kuang, just doing work a lot. They really were able to focus a lot onto the Sobek in the earlier stages of the game, which even though Wolves didn't have a lot of those kills, he was able to build off of his passive stacks, get more physical power every time somebody died inside his cage. So as a result, when it came to the real team fights, he was making a big impact.
Yeah, and touching on the Sobek, I did notice around about the 9-minute mark, we actually saw Sobek had 0 player damage. And as we were saying previously, that was a very positive matchup for Sobek. And the people at home might not realize, when you do play damage to Odin while his shield is active, that doesn't actually count as player damage. So it is possible that, like, you know, it was just shielding all the damage, but I feel like it definitely was a lot of not knowing that matchup correctly.
Exactly. I mean, you know, even when you're fighting into that matchup as a Sobek or any character as a Sobek, you're going to wind up getting sort of accidental damage. Sickening Strike and Tail Whip are both widespread abilities. You go and you make the rotation hit the lane to the side, and then you smack your stuff. You're going to accidentally hit the guy. So Sobek definitely played, I think, a little bit too timid in that short lane. And if I'm coach, obviously the worst as his name is, I'm definitely telling my team, look, man, you gotta be a little bit more aggro. You got to play into this.
Definitely.